Hi there and welcome to part 2 of the How to Do a Review for Stage 1 English videos. This one is going to focus on application, or to put that in a different way, the way in which you're going to communicate with your audience. So this video will start with a simple statistic that a lot of people don't actually know, and that is that when you're speaking to someone in person, 93% of communication is non-verbal. Okay, so only 7% of the communication that you are giving to someone when you are speaking with them is actually the words that you say. That's quite an amazing statistic. So 55% of the communication comes from body language. Now, obviously, if you were doing your review in the form of a podcast, an audio podcast, then body language is completely off the table. So 38% of the communication is the tone of your voice. And tonality is quite important, and it should be tailored towards your audience. When you're doing a purely audio podcast, that tonality is going to be considerably higher. I don't actually know the statistics for if it's just audio, but I imagine that tonality would be very high, considering that verbal is only 7%. It's not to say that you shouldn't consider what you say. 7% is still quite important, but it is food for thought that that's not going to communicate a lot of the information. Body language in a video can be done in a number of ways. You can see some diagrams there of different forms of body language, and you are restricted based on what you put in the camera. So who is your audience? Who is your review going to be for? And you'll need to decide that, and sometimes that will be determined based on what it is you're reviewing. But that's going to determine the type of body language that's going to work for you, the type of tonality that's going to engage your audience. And we can't forget about the vocabulary, the words that you say, because that is still important, but all of it has to tie together. So my suggestion is that you start with some kind of hook. That's going to engage your audience from the get-go. Now, a lot of videos and a lot of podcasts online will actually use a small snippet from something that comes later down the track in their review, or in their podcast or in their video. One of the reasons they do this is because they've chosen a point that was quite funny or quite interesting or quite dramatic that they know will engage their audiences. So they take that very small snip, and it might be 5 seconds worth. Something funny was said. If it's an interview going on, then maybe something completely stupid was stated and they think that that's going to engage the audiences. So they start their video or their podcast with that. And that's a great way to hook in your audience from the beginning. So consider what would make a good hook, what's going to engage your audiences from the very beginning, because you can lose your audiences within 10 seconds if you're not careful. And I also suggest that you make your opinion known from the beginning. When we're talking about a film, did you like the film? Did you dislike the film? Or are you neutral? In most cases, people aren't going to do a review if they're neutral. In actual fact, most people are not really likely to give a review if they like something. We're more likely to give one if we don't like something. If you thought the service at Woolworths was terrible, you're more likely to tell someone that than you are if you thought the service was amazing. Okay? We tend to give a word of mouth review on things in a negative way, and that can spread quite quickly. Word of mouth in 2019 is still one of the best forms of marketing. So make your opinion known. In the case of doing something for school, that's when you're likely to have a neutral review, because you've got no choice over what it is you're reviewing. But to tailor that specifically, we can look at the SACE performance standards. Application 1, AP1, looks at fluent and precise writing and speaking. So let's remove the words writing from that, fluent and precise speaking, because we're not actually writing this review, we're speaking it. For a C grade, you're looking at generally fluent speaking. Okay, eliminating lots of ums and ahs and stuff like that is probably going to get it mostly fluent, and that would get you a B grade. For the A grade, it's just fluent. There's no additions to that word because speaking is either fluent or it's not. Quite simple there, but food for thought that the clearer you are, the more fluent you are, the higher grade you will get in the application section